And good morning. Welcome to another edition of Coach's Corner here on the Highliner Activity Network, our final show of 2024. Of course, the holiday break coming up. And we've got our White Christmas is now in the books, but school is on time, guys, so get up and get going. You got to get to school by 8:35. But we're going to kick things off today with Valley City Highliner Girls Wrestling, and we're joined by Dustin Kruger and Tim Miller. Coaches, how you guys doing this morning?
Good. Doing well. Thanks for having us.
You blew us out, and you're ready to go now.
That's right.
Well, let's start with now we've been having talked for a couple of weeks, so we'll step back to we'll go to the Dan Unruh in Wahpeton. I think was the first thing you had since the last time we chatted. Pretty good day. Dustin, I'll start with you. For the girls, I think we had, 3 champs and placers. So it was a good day all the way around for the Highlander girls.
Yeah, we had a lot of good girls come out of there as champs. I think it was bigger than they thought it was going to be when we got down there and stuff like that. So a lot of girls got to have more than just 1 or 2 matches at that tournament, which is great to have. And we're starting to see improvement with the new girls. You know, we got a very young team right now. I think 7 of them are under 9th grade or younger right now. So we're just trying to develop these girls as they're coming through, and then by the time they become seniors and juniors, hopefully have some really good wrestlers on our team here. So
I think Tim, you mentioned when we first chatted, 4 have never stepped foot in the wrestling room before this year. I think was the number you gave me. But of these younger ones that have not. How are they improving? How are you seeing that they're getting the grasp, no pun intended, on the wrestling?
They just are. That's the easiest way I can say it. I mean, their technique is improving, their aggression and their fearlessness and their attitude towards the sport is improving. We have one girl who Camden Kappenman, who beginning of the year, I told her the other day, I said, you are our biggest change from day one in the wrestling room until now. At the beginning of the year, she really didn't want to touch the other person very hard. Right. I don't know if she thought she was going to break them or she was going to be broken. But, you got to figure somebody who's, I think her only other sport that she's in is cross country.
Right.
And so if you haven't been in that sport and or a physical sport, or even basketball's got some bumping and pushing and, whatever, it might make sense, I guess, that she didn't really want to engage her opponent. But she's completely turned that around. This weekend, she got 2 wins. Her first 2 wins on the year was a heartbeat away from a 3rd win. So she was also our Wrestler of the Week, which I'll be getting that information out to everybody here shortly. But yeah, everybody is just getting the technique down, getting confident with what they're doing. We talk about just every day we got to get a little better. We can't control the wins and losses. We just have to get better. And that's the name of the game. And so those 4 they're on their way. They're doing it. They are where they're supposed to be, or ahead of where we would assume that they hope they would be. So yeah, they're on their way.
I know, in sports, I'll use football as a example. Sometimes at the beginning of the year, we'll have maybe a handful of plays, and then we'll open up the playbook a little bit as the season goes on. With wrestling, you start off okay with your technique and the fundamentals of how you're going to approach a certain match. Do you add, we'll start with this throw or this move, and then maybe add a couple down the line, or is it depend on a wrestler what they would be good at?
Well, we have a formula or a plan of attack as far as what we're going to show for technique. Like I told Dustin at the beginning of the year, let's try to get all of our technique in. When I say that, I mean from the start of wrestling until my goal was January 1st to get all of our technique that we're going to be showing these girls in. So come after that, then everything is essentially review, and we're going over everything. So we've already we got to that point probably, the 10th or right around the 10th of December maybe. So now everything we've been doing since then is review to some aspect. But the only time we pick anything out for an individual girl that we work on is probably after a tournament when we've seen some mistakes they've made or positions that they made the wrong decision in. Then after that tournament, we'll come into the room, and usually what I'll say is, here's what so-and-so did this weekend. If she's doing it, it's likely that the rest of you either are doing it or you're going to do it at some point in time.
Okay.
So then we will, that's usually on Mondays after a tournament or whatever, Wednesdays after if there's a Tuesday night tournament, we've only had one duel, but we've had some tournaments on like Tuesday nights or Thursday nights. So the day after, we try and correct what they've done and work on those things. But other than that, we just go through our technique from start to finish, just in our list. Generally starting with the most important and most basic stuff at the beginning of the year. We say, I guess most important would be the basics, the easiest to learn moves, and just work from there.
Well, now, fast forward here last weekend up in Grand Forks at the Sertoma, and I think a fifth place finish for the girls with 108 points, actually tied Pembina North for fourth place with 108 points. Another good showing. Had one champion. I think Miley Christensen was one champ, but I think placed 4 or 5 girls. And some of the JV wrestlers, too, had a real good tournament.
Yeah, so we did tie for Pembina. They didn't count a few of our wrestlers, so we got a little late notice on that. We actually did place. We thought we were in more like, what did I say, 9th out of 21 is what I said, or something like that?
Was there?
Or 19
There was
teams
14 teams.
Yeah.
At Sertoma.
Yep.
And we get back, and then Tim gets an email saying they forgot to count some of our wrestler points, and we were able to get up to 4th, which is an awesome showing. Even though we only had the one champion, you know, our young girl stepped up during that tournament. There was only a handful of JV brackets that were big enough to be able to create JV ones. If we could throw our newer girls in there, we did, but you know, a lot of them ended up having to wrestle on the varsity side, and we're still able to come and get a few points by getting some wins and getting into placing rounds and stuff like that. So it's fun to watch them wrestle. Our older girls, a few of them ran into some really good girls. You know, you get into that tournament, it's not just, you know, North Dakota teams that are showing up. You're getting some Minnesota teams and stuff like that. But we ran into some really good competition for those older ones, and that's good to have right now. Like, see where they're at compared to the, you know, the girls that are at top of the state right now, and get a good grasp of what you need to do to improve for that the rest of the year here before region and state comes up in February. So
Has anything surprised either of you? Anyone or anything here in the first month roughly of the season?
You surprised us as far as what? Like, as
It's just
far as our
a
team
performance by an individual, or maybe ahead of where you thought they would be?
Well, there's one who we hadn't been around a lot that she keeps doing what she's doing and progressing like she's progressing. She's going to be a world beater. That's Catherine Russell. Just the feel that she has. She's incredibly strong. I mean, which is very important in wrestling. She's very aggressive.
she's only a 7th grader.
She's only a 7th grader. Yes.
Long ways to come, you know.
And just the things that she does out there, I'll tell you one. I'll let Dustin tell it because you can tell about how she did technique in a match and.
So we.
Well, let me finish. 1 second here, then get to it. But because you were the one that was there when she did this, but just the way she flows from one move to the next, and it's just something that you can't teach. Like, there's a lot of things in the room that I tell the kids we could tell you 1,000 times. We can't teach you. You have to figure it out. Right? No matter how many times we tell you, it might speed things up in your learning process a little bit, but you're gonna have to figure some things out in this room just by wrestling matches. Just get a feel for it. And she looks like she's wrestled 500 matches, but she hasn't. And so, big things coming down the lane for her. So he's got kind of a funny story.
Yeah, she picks up a lot, like, quickly, as some girls just don't, you know. And so I was working with a few of the older ones. We were working on just a takedown. Penn State is what it's called. It's just kind of a pass by, elbow to elbow. You know, push it up and over. And I was working with a few of the older girls, and we get to, I think it was Sertoma, right? It was last weekend that we.
No, was it? I think it was.
Or Lisbon.
It was Lisbon between.
So Lisbon, we were on Lisbon on Thursday, and we get down there, and she's wrestling, and she hits the move, and I'm like, we get done with the move, this Penn State, and I'm like, well, where did you learn that? I was like, we haven't gone over it yet in practice. Like, I've just only showed a few of the older girls that wanted to, they've seen it on, you know, TikTok, or they saw it on somewhere else, and they're like, I want to try this move. And she goes, I was watching you the other day, and she goes, I thought I'd try it. And I was like, well, if you can learn the move from just watching it, you should be able to learn any move out there, you know, without even doing it. And she went out and did it great in a match, and she ended up, you know, winning that match and stuff. But you know, that's what's nice about her, is she pays attention. You know, even if we're not working with her, she's still kind of watching to see what we're showing, and she's trying to improve herself as much as she can right now as a 7th grader. And like Tim said, she flows from move to move, and that's not anything we can teach. We can't teach that. That's a natural thing that you have to have, to be able to say, okay, I'm going to do this move and it doesn't work, I'm going into another move, and it's just fun to watch her right now, and I probably expect her to be at state, at the end of the year, for a 7th grader, that's huge to say. But, with her, she could be anything she wants to be by the time she's I'd even say probably 9th grader, so.
Well, I've seen her on the football field, and she's a really good tackler. Very fundamentally sound when she was playing Thunder football and then junior high football this past year. Watch for number 54. I believe that was her number there. She was a pretty good tackler. Well, now this weekend, the holiday tournament coming up here on Saturday afternoon. I think wrestling starts around 2:30.
Friday for us.
Friday for you, Saturday for the boys. So 2:30, I think wrestling gets started. What are you expecting this weekend? How many teams? Do you roughly have an idea what's going on?
Yeah, we have 15 teams right now, which
Nice.
10 days ago, 9 days ago or so, I was a little bit concerned. Like, hey, we've only got seven signed up, 7 that have let me know, and just one by one, they've been popping up. Last night, New Salem got a hold of me and asked, is this too late? Can we still come? And so. So 15 teams, one from Minnesota, or I think that's Peace River Falls.
Okay.
And Williston. Williston's coming. So that's a long trip for them to come to this tournament.
Williams County.
Williams County, same thing. That's out by
Okay.
Ken. That's Kenmare and Stanley, Fargo, Napoleon,
Jamestown, I think, right?
Jamestown, West Fargo. Anyway, there's 15.
Yeah.
And I've got them on a list. So
No, that's all right.
They'll be here. But no, the bracket. We've got some brackets that are going to be barn burners. I mean, that are just loaded. Like 124, for example, is going to be, which is where Victoria is.
Right.
Is going to be deep, and it's going to be good kids. Like, I think that the top 4 kids probably have a combined. Just knowing what I know, right? I haven't looked exactly at their records, but I know what Victoria's record is, and I know how many matches she's had. But the top 4 kids in that bracket, we're probably looking at 5 or 6 losses total. So the combined record between those girls is probably 40-5, somewhere in there. So that's going to be a good bracket. And there's going to be other ones also,
Right.
That are going to be tight and have a lot of good wrestlers. So
Seating going on tonight?
tonight, yep.
Okay.
Yep. Meeting of the minds. Dustin and I we'll be seating it tonight. So
Sitting in the conference room and scribbling it out.
we're just going to be sitting somewhere and scribbling it out. Yep.
I think that's what last year we were doing that. I saw you guys sitting in the conference room and working on getting things. But how exciting is it just to be hosting a tournament? But of 15 teams, that's got to be pretty good to have that number of teams coming here on Friday.
Yeah, it feels good. We hosted one last year, and I thought we had a pretty good tournament last year. Excuse me. The girls wrestled good last year and everything like that, and we did a lot of round robins last year, I think, when we had our tournament last year. This year, the way it's looking with those 15 teams, when I last looked, there was 126 girls, I think, signed up on it. There's probably more now because that was before we had, 15. So I'd assume we're probably sitting at 135 to 140 girls now. We're going to be able to fill some brackets full. So, there's probably going to be some 16-person brackets out there. There's going to be some 8-person brackets out there. There's still a couple of weight classes that'll probably have round robins in that. But to grow from what it did last year, it's fun to watch, and watching girls wrestle is just fun. Like, being able to watch them grow fast, like how fast girls get it and get going with it and catch on, and we're like, okay, once they get a few wins under their belt, all of a sudden it's way more fun for them. And we harped on the girls at the start of the year, and even our new ones, the ones that have lost, or our older ones that have lost already, and they're upset about themselves, and we said, well, we're not trying to win it right now. We're just trying to grow and understand it and learn the moves that we need to learn and progress. Like, that's where we want to be. We want to progress until February, and then that's where we want to try to win it all. We don't want to worry about it now. Yeah, does it hurt for them to lose, a championship match when they feel like they could have won it? Sure. But at least you're going to learn something from that match. They go back and watch their matches. A lot of girls do. They come back and ask us questions. So it's good to see that they're catching on and they understand it, and that they want to improve and listen very well.
Students of the sport.
They are. It's just different. Camaraderie between the girls amongst themselves is just different than the camaraderie between the guys. Not saying that one's worse or better, it's just different. And
Right.
so it's just interesting to see that. But yeah, this tournament's just another blip on the radar, between, of course, we want to have a good showing for, our girls want to have a good showing in front of, their home crowd. It's not just another tournament, it's a home tournament, it's our only home tournament, it's our only home event for our girls. So we want it to be good. We're gonna have 4 mats. A lot of these tournaments that we've been at have had 2 only dedicated to the girls, so we have 4. We have 4 of the best refs in the state. Oh, yeah, actually 5 of the best refs in the state covering 4 mats. And so, combined with the 4 mats and good referees, we'll have a good tournament. It'll run smoothly, it'll go quickly, and then we'll get teams back. That's the one thing that when you're at tournaments and they drag on till 10:30 at night, you hear grumblings from coaches, we ain't coming back here again, So we won't, barring some sort of catastrophic failure with track wrestling or something, we're going to be out early so getting back to just like what Dustin was saying on this isn't where we want to be our best. I'll often, tell the girls, would you rather get to state and be 35-0 and lose in the first round or second round or third round or championship match, or would you rather be 25-11 and you win a state title, right? And then they all say, well, I'd rather win a state title. And again, that's what all these tournaments are, just chances. They're attempts. They're opportunities to get better.
Right.
They're just a platform, just like our practice room, to see where we're at, see where we need to prove, and get better. So that's really our goal with all of these. Even, yes, we want to do as well as we can, but we want to use it as a reference point to figure out what we need to do to get better and how to get better. So our goal is February, but we want to, of course, have a good showing this weekend.
The season is a ladder, and this is just another rung.
It is just
in that ladder.
It's a good analogy, yeah. So I'll put that one in my analogy book.
You don't have to quote me. You could it's yours. You can have it. There's no copyrights on that. Well, again, 2:30 wrestling starts tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll have coverage here on the Highland Activity Network as well. But come on out to the Hack and watch these young ladies. This is going to be an exciting day.
Yeah, weather should be gone or clear.
Should be.
By then,
It'll be nice.
So
it'll be doable.
it'll be better.
It'll be
I don't know
better.
if it'll be nice, but it'll be better.
It'll be a nice way to kick off the holiday break here this weekend. Is to come on out, watch Highlander girls, and then the boys again on Saturday. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Gentlemen, congratulations on the early part of the rung, on that first and second run on the ladder. We will see you again tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Coach Dustin Kruger and Tim Miller from Highlander Girls Wrestling back with more here on Coach's Corner on the Highlander Activity Network. Back here on Coach's Corner on the Highlander Activity Network, and switching gears to boys basketball. Coach Jim McDaniel joining us from the Highlanders. How you doing, Coach? You've probably been up shoveling
Been
all
moving
morning.
some snow this morning. Yep.
Good exercise. Good.
Yeah, it's good to get up and shovel snow, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. First game of the year, Devils Lake here the other night, and let's just start off with, you knew Devils Lake was going to be tough. That was a very good basketball team that we saw.
And they don't even have their best guy. You know, Nelson was out.
Yep.
They were waiting on an MRI on him, hoping he can get back soon. But it doesn't matter. They're tough. Even JV, you know, from top to bottom, they are a tough team. So we knew they were going to be. We know they're going to be at the end of the season going to be fighting for a return state championship. You know, and they didn't really surprise us as they shot probably a little bit better than we maybe would have thought in the first game of the season or the first couple games. But they were lights out.
When you have a 6'6" guy that can step out and knock down three-pointers, that's an interesting weapon.
They can kind of do it all, and they're athletic and they're big and they're physical, and it was a good test for us. We did some things I thought pretty well, and then it pointed some things that we've been talking about in practice that we got to get better at, and I heard the wrestling guys talking, you know, that it's not about the first game. It's we want to be fighting at the end. So.
What were some of the things that you did feel that they did well for being the first time out against another team?
Well, I thought we worked hard defensively. You know, there's some closeout stuff we need to work on, but I thought, you know, we don't have a ton of guys, you know,
right.
So we play a full JV, full varsity. Those guys, I thought our conditioning was, you know, I thought that was pretty good. First quarter, I thought we moved the ball well. I thought our first quarter looked. You know, now we got to get everybody
Right.
scoring. We got to be a team where we're getting threats kind of from everybody. So, no, I thought we're competitors. I mean, we got guys in practice. They want to win. They want to work hard. And that showed. You know, now we just clean up a few things and get the next one.
And it looks like your post players are going to have their eyes on the ball constantly, because you got your wings and your guards. They can do some fancy passing, and you better have your head on a swivel.
Yeah, and we want a bunch of guys to touch the ball. So yeah, you better be ready, because the ball should be touching many guys and giving everybody a chance to shoot, and so yeah, and hopefully we can get that mix of perimeter, inside, and get that balance. So, and again, that's hard to do against Devils Lake, especially the first time. We're kind of testing ourselves, and then you got Devils Lake who. You know, they're physical inside, and they play really good pressure defense. You know, in that JV game, they pressed us till the final minute of the game. You know, and it's frustrating during the game, but you know, it makes our guys better. They had to fight through that the entire game. So.
Well, now again, it's a little bit of a break. We've talked about this. You got 12 days, I think it is, or whatever it's going to be for the next game. Dunseith, I think, is who you meet in the Classic.
Yep. And I don't know anything about them. I'll start watching some video that's you know, videos are coming in now as teams start getting games. So get to watch them a little bit. I worry more about ourselves than I do about watching, you know, adjusting for it, especially this early in the season. We got to get the things we're doing perfected. So yeah, but it's a long break. You know, we were supposed to have practice this morning. Which we didn't because of weather, you know, and that's because of wrestling coming in tonight and tomorrow night and all that kind of stuff. So, but this part of the season right now, the way our schedule sets up, we're fine. We're kind of a little banged up. We got, you know, with only one game, you'd think we'd be as healthy as we can be, but we're really not.
Right.
We got some guys that are nursing some things and trying to get, you know, get healthier, and so. Today off and kind of a slow start might be all right for us.
What would you say would be the identity of this basketball team? I know we talked about you'd like to get everybody touching the ball. You want to have that inside-outside game. What would be the identity that you want this team to have as you move along through the season?
Yeah, we talked about that, you know, the other night. Right now, it feels like we're a little bit separated. We're not like one team where we're trusting everybody. You know, and then you think back to last year, you know, at the end of the season, you're always thinking of at the end of last year where, you kind of got everything everything is perfected the best that you can be, and then you start at the next season again, and then you're starting kind of from scratch again to build that. So, yeah, I want everybody touching the ball, everybody being a threat, each night a different guy scoring and all that kind of stuff. And that, so everybody is contributing somewhere, some way. And I think we're working on that right now, just to kind of build that team chemistry of on the floor, knowing what the other guy's going to do all the time. And but that's how it is at the start of every year.
Right.
You're figuring that out. Right now, the guys remember it last year also because, but now we've had this break and it's a little bit different mix of guys and everything like that. I'm not worried about it because they're competitors. They get along with each other. It's a fun group of guys. They work hard. So now it's just we need games to get those chances to make that nice pass, and you get the guys pointing at each other, and that's the type of stuff that it takes to where you start really trusting each other.
And finding roles, because each guy's
Yeah.
going to have a different role.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. Some guys are going to be able to score. Jack D's points are going to be more. We're pounding it into the post.
Right.
Jack Samuelson, physical kid. He's going to be cleaning things up, and then you got the guys on the outside. Finn and Mike and Bryson, they can kind of create and they can hit shots. So I'm hoping the mix, and then guys coming off the bench, Tegan and Andrew, I look for them to get some points as they come in, and then they should be rebounding, assists, trying to keep our turnovers low,
Right.
So it's a mix of all those guys doing what they're supposed to do when they're in, getting minutes, and when we get to January, the games really start going. So every couple nights we get a pretty good practice. So
One of the things I noticed against Devils Lake that I felt this team did well was just the way that they worked. And I think Tegan's on. I had him for like 5 or 6 rebounds, but he just hustled after loose balls.
Yeah.
That's one thing this group does is they're going to work hard.
they're going to work hard. Yep, and they'll take pride in playing defense. Again, I think we have some things that we can tune up, but. They're not afraid to hustle. I thought we were in pretty good shape for the first game. I thought we ran hard, but that's because they've been doing that in practice. They don't take it off in practice, and then all of a sudden the game shows up, and they're like, "Oh, I'm struggling
I'm
here."
gassed.
Yeah, they felt good that way. The other night, and so that's because they don't take it off in practice. They don't just go through the motions. So.
Practice the way you play.
Yep, that's right.
You've heard coaches say that. Well, again, we mentioned Dunseith in the Classic, and then after that, a little bit of a lull, and then you got the BCT, and then
Yeah.
I think starting the 17th of January, that's when you really hit playing 3 games a week.
Yeah, and that's where our JV can get some games too. Because, the Barnes County tournament after, the Christmas break here, and then we go to Devils Lake for their shootout. And so it's not until after that where we get those, we're playing right here, JV varsity, or we're
Right.
going on the road, JV varsity. That's when the season gets to be that kind of that normal
Right.
pattern.
Into
So-
a routine.
That's right. Yep.
And kids love routines.
Yeah.
And there would be your routine.
It takes. We're about a month away from that.
From
so,
that,
yeah.
from that. Well, again, the Classic coming up here next week, the shootout, and the Highlanders play on Sunday, I believe, is when
Yep.
you play at 12:30.
Well, we'll have guys, working gate, working the table, that kind of stuff the other days, with girls and boys playing. And, we got a lot of games going on. It should be fun.
Yep.
But we won't actually play our game until Sunday about 12:30, I believe.
Against, I think the Dunseith Dragons will be
Yep.
in town, and but it's going to be a fun weekend. A lot of good teams coming in. Killdeer ranked in the top 5, and
Yep.
they're going to be back. So a lot of good teams here. So come on out to the shootout here next weekend for the boys and girls, and we'll talk a bit about the girls with Coach Howard coming up. But Jim, appreciate it, and now time to get to school.
Now I got to get to school. Yeah, yep.
Time to herd cats.
Yeah, a 2-hour late start would have helped my schedule this morning.
Yeah, it would've helped me too, but
everybody
would've been good on it.
Crossing our fingers, but you know what? I'm glad we're going to school. I don't want to make this.
No, we'll have snow days in March.
Yeah, I'd rather have the day off in March than right now because it's snowing out. So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Jim, thanks much. We'll talk to you
Thanks
again.
a lot.
You bet. Coach Jim McDaniel from the Highlander Boys back with more of Coach's Corner from the Hack of the Highlander TV Network. Back here on Coach's Corner in the Highlander Activity Network, and now joined by Coach Jimmy Howard from the Highlander girls basketball team. How you doing, Coach?
Good.
You've got you got your adrenaline already going this morning. That's the one thing about moving snow. You're ready to roll right away.
Yep.
Now you got to relax and teach. Now you got to bring it down a notch. Last time out, Fargo Grove here on Tuesday night. I think 56-35 final score. What can you tell us about that game against the Grovers? That's a team that's going to be a little bit better down the road. They're still in volleyball mold, I think.
We played defense really well to start the game. I think we got out to like a 14-0 lead in the first quarter, which then allows you to make mistakes later. End of the third quarter, early fourth quarter, we got bogged down offensively. We didn't move the ball very well. But I thought defensively we continued to play hard. Rebounded the ball well, and then eventually when we got back on track, we got our spacing back. We were able to kind of put the game away at the end. But Fargo Oak Grove, they played really well at the end of last season. Little surprised at the way they've started the year, but from what I understand, I believe they got a couple kids banged up. And so yes, I expect down the road they get some of those players back. They should form back into kind of where they were last year. So be anxious to see them later in the season and see where that's at.
From the BCT to that game, did you see some things change, maybe improvement, and or things that maybe fell off a little bit?
When you're playing Maple River, which is just it was a high intensity game. You get in the championship, that's going to be a high intensity game. I thought we came out with good intensity, but it's just the atmosphere not the same, and you felt it kind of drop off in the second half a little bit without some of that atmosphere not being at home, things like that.
Right.
But I thought defensively we remained the same. Defense travels, and that's what we've talked about. Like your offense sometimes comes and goes, but defense travels from gym to gym, and if we can stay locked into what we're doing defensively and pay attention to some of the details that we talk about when defending certain actions, we'll be fine to be in games throughout the season.
And I'm trying to think about if we chatted after the BCT, but just going back to that 3 games, shot well for one game, and even one game you're like, I did not expect to shoot that well. But really, as a team, everybody seemed to play real well those 3 games.
Yeah, and we had different people that stepped up every game. First game, everybody got in, everybody kind of got in the scoring column, everybody did some things that were really good. I thought Dakota Potrats played extremely well that game to start out, kind of pushing the pace a little bit, and defensively. And then a bunch of girls had a very good game with that as well. Game 2, you see Katie Burchell with 32, and we fed it inside. The inside game was working. She had it going. Game 3, they try to take away the inside, and Madison Anderson has a bunch of threes. Coda played extremely well that game. Greta doesn't get enough credit for the small things she does. She just does a lot of small things that nobody really sees or shows up in the stat sheet, but she's kind of a glue person that just makes everything work. And our bench played really well. And so if we're able to continue that, but we won 3 different ways at the BCT. And so heard, at halftime you made a comment, I guess I didn't even know there was a record for most points scored in the tournament. And I was like, wow, okay, so we did that. And that's really good because I was not expecting to be able to score as much as we did right off the bat. So we played really well those 3 games.
And getting your bench, you really like to develop your bench early in the season, and I think that's going to be key. And you talk about your bench. I think you had 40 points in one game with your bench. 18 came from Mariah Fries. How crucial is that going to be to you continue to have that strength of your bench?
It's going to be huge, So if we can pull play, if we can take a shooter off and put a shooter on the floor, it just continues to maintain spacing. We're going to get a cut. Kaylee Nielsen's going to come back. She's going to eventually get in the fold there. And some of the freshmen and younger players, sophomores as well, that are playing JV, they start showing some things JV. They're getting a little more time, and suddenly they might, crack the lineup off the bench, and it just maybe will allow us to go to different players in different situations, and bring those girls in. And so having the confidence for them to be ready to go and just try to slowly kind of bring them along. It's a big jump from 8th grade to varsity for some of those freshmen. So
yeah, that was going to be my next question. The speed of the game that you hear them talk about, and when you get in playing your Central Casses and your Kindreds, and they're going to see a different level. Northern Cass is another example.
Just physicality as well. and the speed of it. Some of the players, they looked really good in the first game. Then it was a big step up to Maple River, and some of them saw it there, and then all of a sudden you get Northern Cass, and there's a blow by, and like, okay, this is much faster. So just continuing to get some of those reps and get used to it, and bring them along. So later in the season, injuries are going to happen at some point or something, and so do you have players ready to go? And so we're trying to get them experience where we can.
Well, now coming up next weekend, the Classic as well. A couple of games for you guys next weekend, but we have something before that.
Yeah, Kindred tonight.
Kindred tonight. That I was trying to, my brain was going, saying, I know we got a game tonight. I can't remember who.
Yes, at Kindred tonight. So that's going to be a big test and really let us know where we're sitting here. They're a very good team, long, athletic, and so we're going to have to take care of the basketball. And can we remain focused? We haven't been in a situation where it's a tight game back and forth yet, late in the game. And so how do we respond to that when things maybe aren't going our way? Are we mentally tough enough to handle that? Or has it just been do we just look mentally tough because things have been going in our favor? And so we're going to find out here probably tonight.
Free throws are going to be crucial in those kinds of situations. Has that improved?
Yes, I think so. With our players that seem to get to the line the most, I think is that we're starting to see the improvement again. It was really odd. Like I said, before the BCT, we were shooting them pretty well in practice. Up at the scrimmage we were at, we shot them really well. And then all of a sudden, the week of the BCT, like that Monday, we had practice and we had kids missing all over the place. And it just it carried a little bit into the BCT, but I thought we shot free throws pretty well against Oak Grove.
What is going to be crucial tonight with Kindred that is going to be to get that win? What is the biggest key that you see?
Taking care of the basketball, not turning it over. We haven't seen a team with the same length, I would say, as us. They're just as long as we are. Maybe slightly more athletic across the board, but we've got some physicality. We've got some things that'll cause problems. If we can cause some turnovers, get them uncomfortable, I think that's really going to play into our hands, and then we got to dominate on the boards. And I think in second, third shot opportunities are going to be really big, and limiting them to one. If we can do that, it gives us our opportunity to stay in the game.
And your bench is going to be crucial again, because if you want to push the pace, you're going to have to spell some of those starters.
Yeah. So we're a little banged up too. We had a couple kids get hit just kind of awkwardly last game, and so. Can we respond? Do we have some kids that can step in if they're not working and play with confidence? So that's what we're going to find out tonight.
It'll be a test tonight. It'll be a good test to see where we're at after the 4 games or 5 games after tonight. And it'll be over in Kindred with the Vikings, and we'll worry about next week. But we do have the Classic next week as well. Coach, good luck here tonight against the Vikings, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, and go Highlanders.
Coach Jimmy Howard joining us from the Highlander girls basketball team. Back with more Coach's Corner here from the Hack on the Highlander Activity Network. Back here on Coach's Corner in the Highlander Activity Network, and another gentleman's been blowing snow this morning, and now it's time for the daily routine. Coach Trevor Hansen from Highlander Boys Wrestling. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Well, I'm actually glad we're going to have a white Christmas. I was seeing too much grass here for the middle of December, so we're going to have a white Christmas. But now let's talk a bit about Highlander Boys Wrestling. We've had the Unruh, we've had the Sertoma, you had a duel with Devils Lake. You've had a lot of wrestling here early on. I guess overall, Coach, what have you liked about this team here so far?
Well, to start the year, we had some tough duels. Devils Lake was a tough duel. We were ahead in 4 matches and got pinned in all 4 of those matches. So, had we won, say, those 4 matches, we lose by 10 instead of 50.
Right.
So it makes it look a lot better. I think our kids have turned a little bit into changing their mindset, being more confident in their wrestling, and being able to be resilient and just tough. Just try to be tough and do the best they can. At times it looked like kids were giving up, kind of getting pinned and that type of stuff. And, we're outmatched in some of those matches and that type of stuff. But I just care about effort, just your effort and your attitude. Those are 2 things you can control. And if you work hard and then you put the effort out on the mat and just toughness, heart and toughness. So
You're filling weight classes too, aren't you? That's always been a key. It's like, we got to open weight. But you're slowly but surely filling those 13, 14 weight classes.
yeah, and 4 of them are junior high kids.
Yep.
So we're really young. We have 4 junior high kids and 3 freshmen in our lineup. So 7 of our 13 weights are 9th grade and below. So we're pretty young, really young. And then, we sprinkle in our seniors and our juniors and our sophomores. So we are able to fill the weight classes. Kids spread out really nice. We got kids to move around a little bit. Some kids went down a little bit. Some kids stayed where they were at. And with Dylan Hunt being a senior wrestling 215 and Ryer, made the commitment to get down to 189, started the year at probably 200 pounds and now he's down to 189 and he looks good and he looks, really good, especially at 189.
We had the Dan Unruh in Wapaton here a couple weekends ago. We'll get to Sertoma here in a moment. How did you feel things went at Unruh?
Good. We only entered 9 kids in the
Yep.
varsity division. A lot of our junior high kids wrestled JV or they went to the junior high tournament in Jamestown on that Friday night. And so we only entered 9. We placed 6, so that was okay. We did well. Colton, Griebel champ. And we got 6th place out of 12 teams. So I thought it was actually a pretty good tournament overall. Owen Hunt wrestled really well, had some big matches, lost to a kid early in the tournament and then came back and beat him for 5th. And, had a good win there to even up more with that guy. Chase Coughlin had a very good tournament. And his wrestling has changed over the last 3 weeks or so, or whatever. So yeah, it was a good tournament.
You talked about the JV. I think you had 2 or 3 champs on that JV level at the Unruh memory serves, but you had guys that did well at the JV on the JV side.
On the JV side of Unruh, we went 13-1.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of champs.
Yeah.
Every kid won all their matches. Some kids went 2-0. Some went 3-0. Yeah, we had. The only one that had lost was my son. So,
Oh, no.
But he's a 7th grader wrestling up a pretty
Yeah.
heavyweight class, and he wrestled really well and finally got a win, and of course that helped. So.
Yeah, you get that confidence back,
Exactly.
and working hard too. I mean, that's one thing. It's going to come. You work hard in the weight room or in the wrestling room. Those wins will come down the road.
Yep.
And follow the instructions. Well, now at the Sertoma, that was a dual tournament, and took 9th place or 10th place actually, losing to Stewartville, but it beat West Fargo. That was a big W for you. Century was a tough one. That's a pretty decent wrestling team that you saw with the first match. But how did you feel the team did overall at Sertoma?
Same thing, and I actually thought we wrestled better than maybe the Unruh. We wrestled way better than any of our other duels. I thought we wrestled Cheyenne pretty tough when we wrestled Cheyenne in in at Cheyenne.
Cheyenne, yep.
And then North, we wrestled okay, but I mean, we should win that duel. We lost by 1. So I didn't feel like our duel performance was very good. And going into a duel tournament, you're kind of like, oh, crud. Well, then we had 2 kids stay home sick. So we had to fill those weights with Quincy Corbin and Billy Hughes. And we ended up winning 2 duels and losing 2 duels. We went 2-2, And if you'd have told me before we went there, you're going to go 2-2 here, I'd have been like, okay, that's not so bad. And not only did we go 2-2, the dual century, one of the top ranked teams in the state of North Dakota, we lost by 15. So close duel, good duel. I think we won 5 of the matches. What do we have? 29 points.
Yep.
So we must have won. Yeah, I think we won 5 matches, 4 pins and a tech. Yeah. So and then Stewartville, we lost by 5, I think. So, and Stewartville, we wrestled. I knew it was going to be a really close duel. Like, we had to win one of those bottom matches. We had to win 7 or 14, and I knew it was going to be a close duel. And in that tournament, some guys that shined pretty well. Of course, Quincy Corbin filled in for us. He is a senior, but he got his first official varsity win. He's only been wrestling for 3 years. Callan Hansen, my son, got his first varsity win. Trenton Giesler and Carter Coughlin wrestled phenomenal. Just young kids wrestling really well, getting some wins. When we beat Turtle Mountain, we had 5 of our wins were by all of our lower weight kids, all of our 7th, 8th, and then Chase Coughlin had a great tournament. I think him and his brother went. I think they only lost a couple matches all weekend out of 8, and they both decided to wrestle varsity. Chase is wrestling varsity, but
Yep.
Carter could have wrestled in the junior high tournament on Saturday at the Sertoma, and he, kind of late last minute said, you know what, I'll wrestle varsity. And I'm like, that's good. Not only for our team
Right.
and helping our team win and not having a bunch of forfeits, but also having him on the team and learning that varsity experience, and all the kids on the board in our room that placed, they all wrestled when they were 7th and 8th grade. Like all the state champs up and down the list, Coy and Colton and all those guys, Jordan Magnuson, Broden Muskie, Alex Andell, Brandon Larson, Parker Larson, all those guys, they all wrestled in 7th grade on varsity level. Zach Doty, Logan Erlinson, all those guys, they all wrestled in varsity level 7th and 8th grade, and they mostly got their butts whooped.
Right.
But it's learning that, like you said, that experience and that what we do in the room and what we do in duels and stuff like that. So
I know Coy always said I used to count ceiling tiles early on in my career, and now he's at Iowa.
yep, I wrestle on the highest level there is.
It is, and Simon Trapp was another one at 107 that had a great weekend, and just all around. I think, would you say this team is really, each match, each duel, they're improving as you take. We were talking about that ladder that you take. It's just another rung. Are you seeing that improvement in the room and in matches?
Yeah, and it's not always the wrestling. It's just sometimes it's just the mindset of confidence of being able to go out there and win or not get pinned or not get tacked or something. It might be that kid's, one of the top ranked guys in the state and you maybe aren't. But it's the heart and the attitude to be like, okay, well, I'm going to be a tough out here. I'm not going to roll over to my bag. I'm not going to get pinned. I'm going to wrestle and that type of stuff. So, there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. Your effort can be astonishing and you could lose by 6 points and give up a regular decision where that kid's really good and he maybe, could have pinned you.
Yeah.
So you save the team 3 points.
Yep.
And that's kind of huge. And mostly it's our effort. I feel like a lot of the kids went out on the mat in those first few duels and they just kind of went through the motions. This guy's really good and then I'm going to get pinned. And then now it's like, well, this kid's okay and he's pretty good, but I'm going to try to do my best and win, and then, if not, just not get pinned. So,
Well, tonight, Grand Forks Central, weather permitting, everything as of right now coming in with the Knights and ADC match here with Grand Forks Central, and then we've got the tournament here on Saturday. So a lot of wrestling over the next couple of days for this team.
yeah, a lot of setup, a lot of preparation, a lot of parents working the coach's room, the hospitality room, and a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross, you might say. There's a lot of things to do between setup and director, and make sure the track is going and the lineups are in, and the seating, Aaron and I will seat it, so.
That's where having a good staff of assistant coaches comes in handy.
Yep.
Of which you are lucky having a good group of guys that help you out.
Absolutely. Aaron Larson is my assistant. Matt Marsh is the junior high and an assistant. So those guys do a great job with what they do, and kind of each of us takes care of our own thing and splits the work, and we get the stuff done. So
What do you expect out of Central tonight?
they're good. They just have so many kids.
Yeah.
You know, they have 30, 40 kids in their room, and they bring the whole shebang, and they can put kids in at whatever weight and move around and bump and that type of stuff. And they're pretty good. You know, if you look up down the pole, they got a kid at, you know, there's a kid ranked at 7, there's a kid ranked at 21, there's 2 kids ranked at 39, there's a kid ranked at 33, a kid ranked at 27. 52, yeah, they get a little bit lighter in the top. So I'm hoping to bring home some wins, 89, 215 heavyweight. Hopefully we can win 114, 39 with Colton. So, I mean, we're hoping we can get to 6, maybe 160 with Tyson, and we can hope we can get to maybe 6.
Yeah.
And, we got a shot to win 172.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the stars aligned, we could get 7 wins.
Yeah.
I think we can get 7 and maybe win the duel, as long as our guys wrestle tough. 6 points when they get outmatched.
Right. Well, we'll see tonight. Again, probably some exhibition matches in JV beforehand.
So, little kids starting at 5:30, actually. Youth,
Okay.
well, again, weather permitting, who knows
Right.
how many will show up. But they had 11 youth matches starting at 5:30.
Okay.
JV will start about 6:30. And then varsity probably about 7.
7:30 around in there. But of
Yeah.
course, all the action right here on the Highlander TV Network. But come on out to the Hack. Get out of the house and come on out to the Hack and watch this game, because there's not many opportunities to see this team wrestle here at home.
Yeah, we only have 3 duels.